All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We're so excited. This is really a very fun meeting that we are having because the guest today is somebody very, very special because I know her for a long time. She went to med school with me at UCLA, so we have known each other for quite some time, and it really has been so joyous to kind of reconnect with her after we did our trainings and come back together. And she was in Los Angeles for some time, but now she has moved. But we always try to still connect and support each other, and that's what this is all about supporting amazing people. Physicians are doing great things for others, great things for themselves, for life, for the community, for the globe in general. So we're excited about that. We'll introduce her formally in a second. First, for those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Diana Londoño. I'm a urologist in Los Angeles. I'm the founder of Physician Coach Support, which is who invited you here today. And Physician Coach Support is a free and confidential platform for any physician that wants to talk to another physician who happens to be a life coach. And we just help other physicians with our skills as life coaches. It's not about long-term free coaching. It is not, again, coaching per se, but it's just using our skills to sort of reframe any challenge, anything that you're dealing with. So it's free, confidential. It is 7 days a week via Zoom. So you can check it out anytime, share it. It's called physiciancoachsupport.com. So thank you for coming. And again, we do these monthly, so you can go back, review the prior ones we've had. The new ones will be coming out, and you can look at that in the website, the replay. So every month we do one, so check us out. But today, like I said, I do have an amazing guest, and that's Dr. Candice Williams. She is a board certified anesthesiologist who has been really a musician since she was probably born, really. And she has studied piano for many years, starting at the age of 7. And she's had many amazing mentors, teachers that, all those that are in music probably know more than obviously I do, but we've got to really highlight her instructors from piano, Russell Ferrante, and, has had a lot of mentors and a lot of things that really have helped her, with her craft. And she is really the founder of Prelude PC, which improves and helps people with their mental health, their sleep health, and just really using music as a healing tool and really to have just more peaceful, more joyous, more enriched lives in this stress, that just kind of overpowers us at times. So we really want to use music as an instrument, as a vehicle for relaxation, for health, because mental health is the most important health. So she is really a lover of many genres like jazz, gospel, R&B, and popular music as well. And again, she has now been transitioning from what I call really, where she had all her dials in anesthesia and moving all these dials and turning it and listening to the sounds of the orchestra of the body. Now she has switched the dials for the music production dials and really is bringing together all those sounds, all those frequencies to make something just really powerful and beautiful that comes from above. So she is just really a vehicle for healing. And so again, we are excited. We're going to learn about things she is doing. We're going to learn about her story, and we're going to get some live performance, which we are very excited. That's why she has all this set up. So welcome, Candice. We are so happy you're here.
Thank you for having me. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Almost 20 years.
I don't know. I don't even keep track. I'm not sure, but probably it's pretty close.
I'm like, I've aged myself.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm 42. I have no problem, but I'm like, it must be
Like,
when I was in my mid 20s, 26, around
yeah.
there, and I'm 42. So if you do the
Mhm.
math around there, which is totally fine. But yeah, like I said, I've always known you that you love music. I always, when I saw you in classes, things like that, I knew that was your passion. And, you know, kind of really walk us through. I know a lot of people do know your story, but some of them don't. And people that will watch in the replay don't know your story. Give us a little more idea of what it was really growing up, because some of us didn't grow up with this much music in your life, but music was in your life and your family. It really runs in the blood. So tell us more about growing up with music or music growing up with you, however it really was, and how that really shaped you as you grew up and as then you went through all this rigorous training, more linear minded, for college and that. So tell us all about your journey. Like, how did it start and how did you develop all this?
Yeah, I was raised in a very musical family, not necessarily my immediate family, but my extended family on my father's side, in church. And so a lot of clergy, almost everyone, it seemed like sung or played an instrument. And every Sunday, that's what we did. We would sing in choirs. Like I started in the sunshine band, as they call it, when you're a kid, and then you graduate to the choir. And I would listen to my uncles play the organ or play piano. Some of them would play bongos. And the music really spoke to me very early. Around the age of 7, I really knew, okay, I want to play Hammond organ in particular. That's what I wanted to play. And it's interesting, I didn't start actually playing it until probably 20 years later, around the age of 27.
Oh,
But
wow.
it took me a long time to actually approach that instrument because I'm going to say it's hard. It can be intimidating because it's a loud sound, a large sound. And for me, I would see all the guys play and not really so much the women. Now, I do have one woman cousin who is phenomenal at Hammond organ, and she is an amazing vocalist. But she was it. Everybody else sung, and so I kind of felt like, well, maybe I don't have that. I'm not sure because everyone seemed to just be so gifted. It's not like they were reading music. They were all, they all heard it and played from. It's more of an apprenticeship, right? They just played from ear and played from listening. So I asked my mom for piano lessons early because of that and started learning in the classical tradition. And, I learned from a wonderful woman named Mrs. Sangster. Mrs. Sangster is still alive. She is 92 years old
Oh
and
my
she
God.
lives not too far from me in Conyers, Georgia. And she is amazing. She still plays piano despite losing her sight. She plays piano every morning, so I want to still be like her when I grow up. But she taught me the discipline part. She taught me the reading the notes part. But as life would have it, I kind of ended up cheating because I would just memorize the pieces and then play them back, not realizing that was to play by ear. I didn't understand that that's what was happening. I just knew that it was hard for me to actually just read the notes in succession. It was easier for me to kind of get some of it, think about it, and then play it back. So I would play all these recitals, things, but the music I was playing, classical music, I wanted to play gospel. So they had some people there who would teach me some songs. And so some of my learning started to veer. Someone asked what was my piano teacher's name. It's Mary Sangster is her name. I started to veer into learning more gospel. And then at a certain age,
Oh, Candice, we're losing you a little bit. I'm not sure.
and I,
Candice, we are losing you.
oh no,
Okay, you kind of
okay,
you came
am
back.
I there?
You're frozen in the screen, but we can hear you. But I think the connection is a little choppy woppy. Let's see here. Let's see if we can unfreeze you.
Okay.
I can hear you, but I can't freeze you. But I mean, if we can hear you, that's okay. Just want to make sure at least we hear you, and hopefully it unfreezes the screen. Okay, there you're back. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was, excuse me. I just started doing other things, not sports and other things, but I really kind of doubted my ability to become a musician as a career. I just didn't think that that's something not only that I could do, but that I didn't have the talent. I just didn't feel that I was good enough at that point. So I stopped playing piano around 13 and then eventually picked it back up in college. But it took all that time being away to understand that I really did love music. It really was kind of in my bones, like I can't escape it. Even my grandfather. So it's a long line of musicians, like my grandfathers and his brothers and his fathers. There's a picture of them. They were in a Depression era band.
Oh yeah.
Like that's how deep, it's like it's generations of musicians that I come from. And so, I was already on a pre-medical path of sorts by the time at the same time, I kind of figured out that I love music. And it was really a struggle because I wanted to apply to Berklee School of Music, but I was afraid to do the audition tape. So instead, I got my pre-medical, prerequisites together and kept going on the pre-medical path in college. I did try to be a music major for a little bit, and I turned it into a minor. And I sang in a gospel choir all the way through college.
Oh,
And we
nice.
toured, recorded. Yeah, I mean, I stayed involved in music,
Mm-hmm.
but and I tried to kind of like go back to it, but it seemed like my path at the time kept veering me towards the pre-medical path. And don't get me wrong, I liked medicine, but I loved music. So it's kind of a different thing. But again, I think it had to do with just a confidence issue and or just not believing that music was a path that was like reliable, if that makes any
Well,
sense,
like
right? That
that
you
you can, yeah, rely and have a career, and like
right.
a lot of people struggle, and it's sort of like actors, like the 2% make it
Mhm.
in Hollywood, but a lot of them are struggling, starving artists. So yeah, it can be challenging when you want to have a stable income,
Right.
and can you do it? Can you do full time? Can you have an income? And those are valid points. I mean, it's or even architects, who are also artists in their own craft. Yeah, it could be a struggle. I mean, it's not, it's a lot more reliable to get a paycheck if you're employed or a private practice to as a physician. So it's, I mean, it's a real like thing to think about.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a real struggle for me. But I liked medicine enough. I wasn't forced into it or anything like that. It wasn't like, my parents are making me know. It's like I liked it recently enough to do it. And at the time, I'm a woman of prayer. And at the time, even though I felt led to do it and that it was the right path to go on, I definitely also felt that it was not going to be forever.
mhm.
And I felt as if it would come back at some point that, it's like, and so the time that I met you, I mean, it was one of my low points because in medical school, I was very conflicted. I was like, what am I doing here? I want to be in music school. Why am I here? But, I just had to learn to press through those feelings and to keep going on the path. I would say residency obviously is the hardest part because it causes you to really give up. It's almost like you get married and you forsake all others, right? That's how it felt. Like I couldn't really do even take care of myself, let alone
Yeah, it's,
do
it's
any
very little
music.
time to do hobbies or do your passion projects because there is not a lot of time. You're just trying to sleep when you have that extra time and you're crashing post call and yeah, like you're like in survival. There's no, and when you're in survival, there's no time for creativity because they cannot coexist. So if you're surviving, just trying to catch up on sleep, catch up on like maybe you're gonna get a haircut or go to the doctor, God forbid, like make a time for a doctor appointment. There's not a lot of time to like continue the practice or continue the instruments. I mean, there just isn't sometimes. But I think the important thing is, I guess, hopefully, in the future, really try to, because I know you're very big on mentorship, and I know that's something very important for you. And, in a way, it's sort of like, well, I mean, I think we kind of talked about it before, like there's a little bit of a conflict. Like, how do I mentor them who are in pre med or they're, in medicine or residents to be true to that and do that, but also say, well, I'm an artist, but I'm a physician. I mean, sometimes I think you mentioned a little bit of a conflict as well, but I guess what I would say is that, you know, just like you kind of grew up and didn't see a lot of men, doing the instrument you wanted to kind of do and it called you, there wasn't a lot of people, women that kind of opened the way for you that you saw. So I think just the fact that you are a woman physician, a black woman physician that did medicine, did something challenging, which is anesthesia, and then continues her craft and her passion in music. Even if you're not fully in it right now, it doesn't diminish it, and it really opens the door and the possibility for anybody that you are mentoring to say, yes, I follow my truth, and that is authentic. Because music, you said you love it, you're the one you like, but you love it, and that is what gives you joy, what gives you peace. And when they see the authenticity, whatever you are and whatever you're doing, that is true mentorship, to live it, to like breathe it. And I think that is so powerful that, you have that big component of like, you do that, you actively are there mentoring others. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about how your mentorship? Because I think that's so important to, again, go back, lift people up, support them. And especially in medicine, there's not, we know this, right? There's not a lot of black physicians. There's, not a lot of Latin physicians, and especially in even subspecialties. I mean, they're minuscule. So just being there, and having gone through it, I think, is very powerful. And then you go back and you mentor. Do you want to maybe speak on the mentorship?
Sure, I've done a few mentor projects. I am on a nonprofit board that is developing like a STEM program for elementary school kids. And through that program, before formalizing it as a nonprofit, I would speak at schools, speak at elementary schools, robotics events, things of that nature about anesthesiology. I also have a pain medicine specialty, which really puts me kind of like you, I don't say in the unicorn class, but when you talk about like that nth degree of not that many physicians of color, in these specialties. And so it's powerful when we show up in these spaces. There is another after school program that's in South LA that I went to go speak with. And I took the demo model from UCLA, the whole anesthesia dummy kit, and show them how to intubate and those types of things, and how to, mask and the importance of those things. And those kind of things really feed my soul. It came full circle because at the time, to be quite honest, when I went to the anesthesia office to borrow these materials, like this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I had no affiliation with UCLA. As a matter of fact, it was interesting that they let me just roll in there. And I was like, hey, I graduated class of XYZ, this is what I'm going to do. I want to mentor some kids. Will you give me these materials? And they were like, sure, give us your, this is, we're going to hold your stuff, so make sure you bring our things back. But they were very helpful and very supportive. So I thought that was awesome that they did that so I can go mentor the kids. I used to do pre-medical consulting. Mm-hmm. That is something that is definitely near and dear to my heart, but it was not on a volunteer basis. So that made it a little bit weird, just because the people that I really wanted to reach, a lot of them, with pay, they really couldn't afford the services with the time and the expertise that I was giving. But I ended up mentoring one person, and sometimes it's about the one person. Mm-hmm. The person, they were on a second attempt, and the previous attempt, they were unsuccessful. They pretty much exhausted every single resource they had. They had been years and years out of undergrad, all the stories, right? Like how we're all broke and trying to get in to medical school, and for me to help her get into her second choice school. Like for me, that was it. I pretty much shut down my consulting business after that, because I said, I got one good person in who she is stellar. She's at Quinnipiac University in her first year, and she's amazing. Now she's in the military. She's just awesome.
Oh, I love that. I got chills. I got chills. You're talking about it, I get like the chills.
Candidate, a pre-med candidate, I was like, you belong as a doctor. And we had these talks like we're having, very candid about, well, why aren't you doing it? Or why are you semi-retiring? And we talked about those things, about how, I just really encouraged her at every step. She's a dancer. So I encouraged her at every step. Keep dancing, even if it's 5 minutes a day, however you move, it's going to get busy, but to keep dancing in your life, if that's a passion, because that'll balance you. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I had other students I had a course, an application course. And so I had some students from that course gain admission. And one of those students was also a singer. So it's kind of interesting, like since my path kind of veered off. So I didn't really tell the story, but in late 2019, I stopped practicing anesthesiology. And that was at the leading of God asking me to spend more time in my music. And what started as take time off, like a sabbatical of sorts, ended up being like, don't go back, right? It ended up kind of being an exit. And even though I had no plan, this was not a plan, I'm going to save up all my money and, it was not what you would call responsible. So I don't tell people like, do this, right? This is not, don't replicate my steps, because I cannot vouch what will happen. all I can say is that I did as I was led.
Mhm.
And of course, and for my life, God shows up every time. At every turn, I was taken care of. Um, but I have to say that doing that gave me a time of soul searching, just like everyone kind of had in the pandemic. It
Mhm.
gave me a time to cry. It gave me a time to let out all the feelings from all of the burnout I was experiencing from anesthesia practice. It gave me time to write songs, which I had never done before. Like you said, when you're stressed and you're surviving,
Yep.
you cannot be
So creative.
creative. And it's interesting because I would dream the peak dissonance for me, and everybody has their almost their breaking point where they know they have to change.
Yeah, tell me about this. This is really important. I think
Yeah,
everybody needs to hear this
for
because
me, there were two things that happened. One is that I noticed that I was having dreams where I would play in front of stadiums and I was performing like in these dreams.
Mhm.
But then I would wake up and go anesthetize people, and I was like, this can't. It was almost like I am not in the right reality. I just knew I was in the wrong place. Then the other thing is, as you know how it is as a wife, a mom. I'm a mom of three.
Beautiful children, beautiful children. They're so beautiful.
I got so overwhelmed. And so, because we feel like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders, we have to do it all or it'll all fall down. Like if we stop, then what happens to my family? What happens? And then I felt trapped. And that's what, unfortunately, a lot of our female physicians feel this. And when I had the thought, okay, it might be better if I wasn't here because nobody would have to see my suffering,
Mhm.
that is when I said, okay, no, okay. I'm not going to be one of the people that they were like, oh, she was such a great person. It's not funny,
No, I mean, it's
but
funny, but it's not because, like, I mean, I'm kind of laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because, first of all, it takes courage to say that, and two, so many people, and like, nobody has to say it publicly, but so many people have been in that spot,
yes,
and maybe not so close, but very close, or where you are just like in the darkness because the burnout is real, because you feel all the weight on the shoulders, because this stuff is like we have so many roles, and this stuff is real. This stuff is matters. And then you get to that point where you're like, yeah, maybe that would just be easier. Maybe, who's gonna notice, or like, there won't be that
right.
much to worry about.
Either nobody cares who's going to notice, which is usually not true, or you just want to escape. It's like
Yeah.
you want to escape the pain of what you're feeling.
Hmm.
And I realized in that moment that I love my life outside of medicine.
Hmm.
I love my husband. He is wonderful. My kids are fantastic. My family is great and supportive. And I have a lot of blessings. I'm a very blessed person. And so I looked at, okay, so what has to go in this equation, right? It's like, okay, that means that it took a lot of courage to quit. It took a lot of courage to continue quitting when my boss was texting me like, can you come do this case? And I'll be like, no, like every single day for a month.
Like,
I
nope.
said, no, 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 no. I had to say no over and over again. But I was saying yes to my repairing myself mentally,
Yes to you.
physically, emotionally, and yes to being creative. And I would say initially, it felt like pressure of the music has to be something.
Hmm.
Like I have to have a music career. This has to be something. But that didn't last very long because I realized the music doesn't have to be anything. The music just has to be
Yes.
me making it, right? And me enjoying it and me having fun and me being happy. And once I kind of reached that point,
Oh yeah.
my life, period, opened up. I am a different person demeanor wise. I'm still kind of serious, but I smile a few more times now than I did probably when, especially residency. I was
But
a
because I mean
person.
that,
I was just a different
but it's been happens
person.
because if you're spiritual, which I know you are, but people on the call or whatever, like when you deviate away from your true nature, and now we're talking about like the ego, which are all these roles of like mom and doctor and aunt and all this. Those are like the ego roles because like anyway, they're not forever. You can stop being a mom, you can stop being this or that. But when you go back to your essential true self, which is joy, love, creation. I mean, you are creative, and you stop doing the creation, you stop pursuing what was true for you, then yeah, then you cannot, then like your light's kind of dim, even though the light's inside. But you, then your body is like, this is not right, this is wrong, and then you start cycling. I mean, even you probably felt like, oh, clothes, and like not expansive, not relaxed, because you were moving away from your truth, and your truth is like joy, love, creation. And when then you go back to the creation, you go back to that, yeah, you allow it to come in, you allow it to flow. You're just like, again, like an instrument to let all this stuff flow without attaching it has to be this, like it has to become a career, it has to become successful. When you let go of that and enjoy the ride, not the destination, then it just like flows, and I think you kind of really describe that when you just let it be, let go of that attachment of what it has to be, or trying to get to the goal, but really detaching yourself of the outcome, then that's where like the magic really happens. And I
That's
think it's really
difficult.
powerful.
That's difficult to do with creative pursuits a lot of times because anything that you're making, you feel is part of you in a sense, right? You're invested in it partially. Like when you sing, that's your voice. That's part of you. I feel like singing is somewhat more personal than playing an instrument, but it gets there. But yeah, the very end of my residency, like the last day when I turned in my keys, and then the pager, which, and I really did a break dance, and I was like pregnant as all get. I mean, I was huge, like, you know, 20 something weeks, 30 weeks pregnant. And I walked out of there. One of the first people that I called was my idol piano player, like the person who just sounds the way that I like to sound. And I probably, I will sound like me, but you see what I'm saying? The person who plays it the way
Yeah.
that I now. And his name is Russell Ferrante from the Yellow Jackets. And I called him to study with him. So I started studying with him pretty much as soon as I became an attending, for 8 years.
Oh,
And
wow. Wow.
yeah, off and on for 8 years. And I found that just like I had a medical community, how you just have a whole, a lot of doctors, because that's what you do. I ended up also because of my family, but also just from playing music all that time, I realized like, hey, I have this whole music community too. And so I started tapping into some of those people when I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to either play certain things or didn't know how to produce certain things or how to work certain things. I call it my music community. So Russell Ferrante it was a really, really big influence on me just in terms of teaching me, mainly encouraging me. Remember, I was saying a lot of it had to do with not just like confidence, self-esteem, things like that, but specifically in this area that somehow I wasn't equipped as a musician to carry it out. It's just interesting how our minds and our brains and our hearts will play tricks on this. It's like, how did I become a dual board certified musician and can't play piano? I don't understand that logic, but it plays tricks on us and it'll tell us these things. And it was great to have someone to just break down those barriers and say, no, actually, you're very musical. You
Yeah.
have it. Basically, it's just up to, he just put it back to me. It's up to you
You're
to.
you're standing in the way of your own success in a way, and they're like, yeah, you gotta poke holes at these stories because we're storytellers. That's the actually fascinating thing about our brain. Our brain tells a lot of stories, a lot, and most of them are not true. And then we hang on to these ones that I don't know why, and then we get stuck, and then we get fearful, and then when we're stuck and fearful and overwhelmed, we cannot create, we cannot move on, we cannot evolve. But when you let go of these stories, which again, I mean, is it true? Is it true that you cannot do this? And you poke the holes like he did, then it's like boop, you pop the bubble, you're like, oh yeah, like that is actually not true. And it sort of like releases, and then you can then create and like do what you want to do because it was just a thought that was like literally standing in the way for your success. It's just a thought, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's taken some time. I mean, these are things that sometimes, takes a while to unpack, and I have to keep unpacking them. I think we're all a work in progress in that way, right?
Oh
When you
yeah, we all, it's all work. It's daily work.
right.
It's not like, oh yeah, you come to this kumbaya realization and you're like, oh, I figured it out. No, like every day, all these questions have to be kind of brought up and like poking holes and like, what is my true nature and like what am I here to do? So let's kind of maybe talk a little bit more about that. Like now you're, started working with this, mentor, person you admired for 8 years. You're tapping into more of your musical community. Where do you then start getting into, because also you did pain management, which again you're trying to heal pain obviously with the doctor part of it, but now you start dealing into how do I heal people, whether it's with sleep, with stress, with whatever it is, with my music. So how did then you start getting into that transition of like this is where you want to go with this?
That's a good question. It kind of was born out of that time in the pandemic that I was talking about. For me, it was devotional time and spending time before God, crying, praying, working it out. It's like, the ugly cry, right?
Those are
But
okay,
my
those are allowed.
like the piano playing, some people is just crying. For me, it's with piano playing. And out of that time came ideas and songs that some of them had words to them, some of them did not, some of them was just instrumental music. And even though I was really early at some of the recording techniques and things like that, I just started recording these ideas. And at first, I didn't really know what to do with it. That's like when you make something, you're like, well, what do I do with this? And then I thought, well, this is kind of soothing, right? Because some of the songs, they were piano based, that I would put nature sounds to them and other things. And there was a moment where, I'm a pain doctor, but I have chronic pain myself. I have neck pain. And I had a moment where I really was like, well, what should I do with this? Like, this pain is really taking me over. And I tried the wraps and the heat and turmeric, and you can go down the line, right? We all know the things to try. And I started playing one of my songs in a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And what it helped me do is to really dissect, like, what am I feeling right now?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I tense here right now? What happened today, right? And where am I feeling this tension? Can I release this tension? I started to ask myself these questions and to really purposefully relax, if that makes any sense, but
Yeah,
to
yeah. I mean,
really
you're doing a little
let,
body scan, but with the music, but
let
tapping
some
into
of
your
this
body. Like, what are you
yeah,
feeling? Why are you feeling it? What's going on? What are you
right,
trying to tell me? Because the body is
right,
actually very intelligent. It lives in the present and it gives you so many signals. Like, that's why there's tension here because you're carrying the stress there. And I'm trying to tell you, like, hey, pay attention, like, but so it's very intelligent. And now you're asking the questions, which is fantastic. Like, you're listening to the body, you're listening to the pain, that's trying to give you a message. So this is wonderful. You're going through your body trying to
right.
figure out why.
Mm-hmm. And through that experience, I realized that, you know, like if it helped me, I know that other people can benefit from this. But not only that, I think that people take music and the power of music for granted. It's
Mm.
like, because you can just press, on iTunes and play anything on demand, people don't use music therapeutically that way. Because that's the first time that I did it. And I don't necessarily like to formal meditation as a practice, but I pray as a practice. And so
That's the meditation,
yeah,
concentrated meditation.
yeah, not in the traditional meditation format that people think of. So I do a practice, and so I will say that incorporating music, that was one of the first times that I'd done that in a purposeful and intentional way. And I was like, I know that this can help people, not only with pain, but mental health, anxiety, calming yourself down, taking time in nature. When I walk around my neighborhood and I see all the trees and all the hear the birds chirping, um, as a musician, as a music producer, my mind, it's like I hear scores and moments, like I hear music
Mhm.
that way. It's almost like I have a soundtrack in my head
You're,
all
you're making it.
times, but a lot of times. And so that's kind of how I got the concept of, like, okay, what if people use music that way? They really, if they were down, they use music intentionally to uplift themselves. If they
Mhm.
were lacking confidence, they intentionally use certain types of music to shift their mood and to shift their
Yeah.
thinking, right?
Shift their mood. Yeah, you're changing the vibration, right? To me, music, our bodies, we're vibrations. I mean, especially as anesthesia. I mean, to me, like I really get excited about this because, I mean, like you really do. as an anesthesiologist, when you're practicing, you were moving the vibrations of patients. I mean, you turn the little dials. I don't know what you do on the other side of the drape because I'm a surgeon on the other side. But turn
I know
some,
you.
you turn some things, and then the breathing goes faster, right? Like the vibration goes faster, the heart rate. You are literally the producer of the orchestra of somebody else's body, and you are tuning it to make sure it's just a beautiful sound, so it's not like tick, 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 right? So they're not in VFib or something crazy, so they're gonna have a beautiful sound and orchestra. That's what you do, and you were doing it. It was like musical. But now you move it in this thing, and then you're in the nature, you're hearing the orchestra, you're seeing the connections, and then now also like, because you were not a producer, you said earlier. I mean, you used to play piano, you did this, but now you're moving into like, I'm gonna write, I'm gonna produce, which is a whole different animal, I'm sure,
Oh,
than just being a like
yeah.
playing. So you're just moving to like,
It's thoroughly different. One thing that catapulted me, other than doing the relaxation music, that was one piece, but the George Floyd incident
oh yeah,
really impacted me and it impacted a lot of people.
oh
But
yeah,
for me, I started having conversations with some friends of mine. We were supposed to do a concert. There's a friend of mine named Jasmine Colbert, who's a poet out of Los Angeles, and she was putting together a concert where a singer, her name is Nina Lockhart, she was going to do a song, I was going to play, and Jasmine was going to do poetry,
oh yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So COVID shut that down. So
Oh,
in the interim, George Floyd and all these things, were weighing on us, and we had a little, we had a brief meetup about like, well, hey, maybe we should just get together sometime and just like jam or make a song and put it out because our thing got canceled. And so we all went away. We all went to our separate corners. When I went to sleep that night, I was praying. I said, God, why do people hate us? I don't understand. I don't understand the hatred towards my people, the Black diaspora all over the world. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand, why so much hatred. And so the answer that I heard back is, but you're beautiful. You're
you
beautiful
are.
people. You are beautiful to me. You are beautiful to me. And so it how an idea comes, but then it starts to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew to the point where it was so loud that I had to like get up out of my bed. It was
And
1
ignore
a.m.
it.
I couldn't ignore it. Now the
Like,
other
okay, I'm gonna go do it.
my other songs, I just say no, 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 no on my phone and just this was different. I had to go into my studio down the hall and I recorded down piano parts, little drum track, what have you. I mean, just made a basic track. And then I recorded down the refrain of "You're beautiful to me, you're beautiful to me." That's kind of the refrain. And I sent it to both of them and I said, listen, we need to make this song. It's
Mm-hmm.
about Black people. We need to make this song. And I gave it to them and they both did their absolute magic on it. I just don't even know how they were so phenomenal what they did, but the song is called Black Beauty. And that was actually my first release. That was the first song I ever released. I didn't release my relaxation music or anything before then. It was actually Black Beauty was the first song that I produced with a group called JNC. There's three of us. And we released it. And since then, we had another release called Future that talks about children and how they're our future and how they're so great. And we're continually working on music. So that's one of my projects. So Black Beauty Project is one of the projects that I'm producing music under.
Yeah.
And, I find working with these ladies, they're amazing. They're amazing talents, but it's just so interesting how collaboration
Mm-hmm.
it kind of catapults you because on my own, I probably wouldn't have released music so quickly. So it was within the year that I learned how to produce, I released music. And it was because other people were involved, it puts the pressure on you. It's like, okay, all
Oh,
right.
but that speaks to such an important point that we're not alone. We sometimes want to do it all ourselves, or we're low type A, like I can do it, and this and that. But we're not alone, and when we collaborate, I mean, the power of like lifting in the community, and at the end of the day, you kind of do realize people do want to see you succeed, and they want to help you, and not just you, but like what you produce, what you create, which is creation, is comes from a higher source, what it does for people. I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's going to heal people through ridiculous things that occur, not only in America, but especially in America, where for some reason, which I am with you, I do not understand how you can now look at that soul, that person in front of you, and not see the humanity in them. I mean, to me, it's unimaginable. I really cannot understand it. And like, you cannot rationalize it, and you cannot rationalize hate. And I don't like, there is no rationality
Yeah,
except like, you need to find the way, you need to find the light to get out of this darkness. And so
right.
what you got to do is exactly what we're doing: bring the light, bring the joy, continue that, so that hopefully then people can find their way out of the darkness and realize their beauty, because there is nothing wrong with you or black people or Latin people or anybody that they want to, or LGBT, whoever it is, like this hate that happens, I don't understand it. Like, when we instead lead with love for
Right.
others, and not, we're not having this fear or like anger or all these awful things, and then awful things happen. But
Other
can we lead with a little love
anything,
for others?
anything that seems like it's not in the mainstream, or is that looked at as other, right? There's a fear and a
Yeah, it's
hatred.
dehumanization. It's
One of the songs
dehumanizing.
we're working on right now is called I'm Gonna Love. So if you're on it, that's the next release. It's called I'm Gonna Love.
That is
Um,
the answer. Like, love is the answer. We gotta love, and we
awesome.
gotta, but then we gotta love ourselves so we can love others. Because if you don't love yourself, there's no way you can love others. And it could be the same people, let's call it the same category, but you truly can't love others, even if you say you do, if you don't love yourself. If you have hatred inside you, you're gonna give hatred to others. If you have love within you, you will never, ever dehumanize, kill, harass, do all these things to people. I mean, the love is within you, or the
Right.
hate, and there's a lot of hate, but we gotta like really try to be the, like Gandhi says, be the change of love and of light. And I think, yes, when we're trying to heal through all these events that are revolting, music is so powerful. It really elevates the frequency of how you feel from, because I mean, imagine like your heart rate, like you're scared or you're mad, your heart is going like this, right? It's a different frequency. It's like the beat is like different. When you put a different beat, a different frequency of your music, then it's like, it's all like, like it all kind of harmonizes and then slows you down, relaxes you, because you're putting this beautiful vibration of music you're producing to then synchronize that with you. Just like if you put, because we're all like vibrations, you have put people, four women together a camp, right? They're pure synchronized. Like, how does that happen, right? We all synchronize. We're like pendulums. So we are synchronizing with the beautiful things you make to calm us, to heal us, to find that love instead of like like this anger and this awful stuff. So I think Black
I
Beauty
love
Project is beautiful. What you're doing to uplift the communities that are suffering, that have true trauma, generational, right? Generational trauma of what they have to deal with in this country. And also the other projects of like healing, anybody really, but healing people through music. So beautiful.
I, I think a lot of it is a lot of the things that we do or that you see people do start off as something that they use to heal themselves,
Mhm.
or it's something that they use to uplift themselves, and then you find like, hey, well, maybe people would benefit from this too.
Yeah.
I had a conversation today with someone, it's like randomly at our juicery in town, that yeah, basically was saying that all the things that you were alluding to, the hatred, the historical injustices and those things, as people who come from a people group who've experienced these things, we have to acknowledge those things, but then we have to understand that they don't belong to us. Like, we can't
Absolutely.
carry
Oh,
the
yes.
we can't
They're
carry the
not
weight,
yours. It is
because
not your hatred. It is theirs.
that's the problem. That's like we have mental, was meant to, right? It's kind of meant to, right, to kill us, right? The
Mhm.
mental health, physical health, the damage
Oh
from
yeah, it has physical
damage,
manifestations,
right? The DNA
chronic
damage from your
illness.
past, right, gets passed on.
Mm-hmm.
So we were
Epigenetics.
talking about that, about how we have to actively do things to release
Mm-hmm.
and let some of these things go.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was just, emotional release from all of, the burnout, the things that I went through in anesthesia, but just also the emotional journey of allowing myself to be who I really wanted to be, allow myself to actually quit something. I mean, that's big for a lot of people. They don't ever traverse that. A lot of women in particular, we don't traverse that thing of
Of
like,
course,
oh,
sometimes
let
it
me
takes lifetimes.
allow myself to be happy. Let me allow myself to, actually do some things that would uplift my soul. Um, yeah. And so
Because it's
that
this
all
like this,
we
this society like tells that. I mean, there's this book, Unbound, Kasia Urbanic, that says the most radical thing a woman can do is want. Like when you want something, like God forbid, somebody, a woman says, "I want this" or "I don't want this." It's like, what? What do you mean? You're like are gonna say what you want. You're gonna follow your passion. You don't want to just. And there's nothing wrong with having babies. Like only have babies or only do this. God forbid that you actually want something, anything, doesn't matter, music, become an astronaut, be a writer, whatever it is. Like, if it doesn't follow some conception that somebody has, then it's like, oh, and there's gonna be no support. And I think that's important because then it has to bring us to the point where, as women, then we gotta lift each other up. Then we have to be like, we got you. We're gonna lift you. We're gonna hold each other up because these beliefs are not ours. First of all, they're false. They don't belong to us. Whether it's hate or there's false beliefs that we have to be in this little box of like this is what we have to be. No, no, we don't. We can be whatever we want. And but again, wanting something is radical, and it freaks people out, and they get uncomfortable. But again, that's their discomfort. We just have to keep going
Oh,
and
I
like
got a lot
working.
of that. Like, first of all, I mean, I got a lot of like, am I going through a midlife crisis? Which is like, absolutely, I am, and I'm not ashamed of that. Is
We
a
all do. We all do. That's okay.
45 phenomenon because I started looking at why am I breathing?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I here? Why am I both? So you asked, I didn't fully answer. You asked about why am I putting music and medicine together? What am I doing, to help people? But the why is I asked God and I asked myself, why am I here? Why am I both musician and physician? And I kept trying to like, be one or be the other. That's why it was a conflict.
But you're both.
I kept trying to be one, be the doctor only, and I was going crazy. Like I was going nuts. And then when I tried to be only the musician, yeah, I fit into certain spaces. Yes, I would get into certain studios. Yes, I was on certain recordings. Yes, I had a certain measure of success. But then I wouldn't want to tell those people I'm an anesthesiologist. It was weird, right? Like you go in and you're playing with all these guys, and then they're like, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I'm like, yeah, I produce, you know what I mean? And then my husband will always give me the side eye, like, girl, you're a doctor. You just tell these people. I'm like, hi,
Well, at least you're not with all the guys and you said you're urology because then they get uncomfortable and they kind of close their little butt cheeks. But,
yeah,
I totally get it. I totally get it. I mean, of course, it's like it's a different group, but you're both. You're absolutely both. You're all of it.
right.
You're all this stuff. You're like mom. Because you're a mom, you can be a great musician because kids have a lot of sounds and like like the joy of like the outdoors. You can be all of it, but you just have to be, and it's okay to want to be all of it, and that's
Yeah,
okay. But
yeah,
I wanna make sure that we have time for live stuff. I want to make sure that people know. First of all, you told us about some of the projects you're doing, the Black Beauty, obviously the music for relaxation. I know you just launched your YouTube channel.
yes.
So tell people like what projects you have, where can they find you, where can they hear more about all your stuff? Because I think it's so important that we support it, we listen to it, we share it. Where's all this stuff that you're doing?
Right. So I have a few places where you can find my music. I just started a YouTube channel called Prelude PC. So it's under my company. And that has a video for relaxation. It's a long-form video with nature sounds to it. And then it has a video with me talking about music is healing. And my plan is to talk more about this subject on there, but to also periodically do long form videos on there. So there'll be releases regularly. And that's where I'm going to release a lot of my relaxation music is on YouTube. In terms of Black Beauty Project, those songs can be found on iTunes, Spotify, every major outlet. That it's Black Beauty by J.N.C. So it's a little hard to search sometimes because if you search Black Beauty in particular, you'll get a lot of different results. But Black Beauty by J.N.C. You can put that in on iTunes, Spotify, and you'll find our music there.
Love it. Yeah, we'll definitely put that also on the webinar. It'll be posted on Physician Career Support, and I'll put these sort of links so people can find them. Also, like a link to your YouTube channel so people can just find it easy and just get to it.
I'm working on my website. Hopefully it's up next week.
That's
So
okay.
I can
We
put
can
everything.
always add it later. That's okay. That's why there's like edit buttons. So we'll add it anytime once you get it done. That always be posted. We'll add it. That's totally fine. We don't need a website to find you. You're on LinkedIn, you're Facebook, you're everywhere. People can find you. Candice Williams, MD. So let's get to the fun stuff. You have your setup ready. Let's hear some music. If you're ready, I really would love to hear it. If that's a good time now.
Sure. So I'm going to introduce the song. It's called Soar. And the song we're going to do is actually written by my middle daughter, Harmony. She's so sweet. So give her some love when she
Oh,
comes.
she's beautiful.
That she wrote this song. I just helped.
It is.
I'm just
I've
helping.
heard it, and it gives me chills. So I'm really excited.
So I'm going to go ahead and put myself on mute and stop my video for a second while I get her here and then we'll restart. Okay?
Sounds
Very
good. We'll be
quickly.
waiting.
Sorry, I just want to be sure we have enough time. Does this cut off at an hour or are we,
No, no, no. We can definitely go. I mean, we want to be
okay.
respectful, but we will make sure we hear it all. But yeah, we
Okay,
want to be
I
respectful.
just didn't want it to cut off after they
Oh no, no,
started,
it
but
won't. I
that's
mean, we can
fine.
go on for 3 hours, but I want
Oh,
to be
great.
respectful of
That's
everybody's time.
wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, no, no.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we won't like truly cut it. I want to make sure we do hear it. We have time. She told me it would be about 3 minutes song, so I wanted to give her enough time, and then to play it, to sing it, and any questions or anything on the chat. We'll,
Sure.
we'll definitely have time. But no, we won't. We won't turn off their curtains or close their curtains, whatever that is.
All
We'll
right.
continue. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm ready. We've been excited. This has been something in the making. We're excited. Oh yeah. Oh hi. Hi Harmony. We're so happy to see you. And I like your little bow. I don't know, it's so pretty. And the flowers.
Hey.
All right. Well, we're ready. This is a treat. And it's gonna cure your daughter a little more. Get a little closer. Yeah. Yay, beautiful. Beautiful harmony, so pretty. Your song, your singing, the lyrics, they're just beautiful. I heard them before and they gave me little chills. So it was very beautiful. You gotta keep singing. Beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
You want me to play some more?
Yeah, we have a couple minutes. And then if anyone has any questions or anything, if we're gonna sing, just make sure she is a little closer because we couldn't hear all her lyrics. But if you're not gonna sing, then just play. I think one more song would be lovely for everybody. It was really beautiful.
Oh,
I felt
okay,
relaxed.
another song.
I think your hubby's in the back or somebody's in the back. I can't see very well. Hello.
Okay, that's my oldest daughter.
Oh, okay. I can't see very well. I'm like, I can only see a face, but I can't see who it is. Come on in. You can come in if you want.
Yeah, she's just giving me control.
Okay, you can come. Hey.
She said she wanted to tell when I was up.
Hmm.
So, are we gonna sing it again?
Did you want her to sing it again because you didn't hear her?
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you can get a little closer, Harmony, because I couldn't hear you very well, but I like let's make it closer to the microphone so we can hear you, and then let's see if it.
This better?
Yeah, it is better. I love it. Just get close so we can hear you, honey.
Well, I'll try it again.
Yeah, get closer. This is the one. We got it, Harmony. Just close. You have a beautiful voice, raspy, just buttery. Let's do it.
Okay, you can't just scoot towards it. Okay.
Yeah, just get close. Move your chair closer. Don't be afraid to get close.
No, sit down because you're gonna pull things. Just sit there.
Just get close. You can move close. You can see it. There you go. Let's see, Harmon. Let's hear it.
I'm gonna start.
Still survive because I'm still on little time. I still soar because I'm holding back nothing. I fly high. Because I'm all this buried treasure. I touch the sky, 'cause I know you're still here with me. I know you're still with me. I know you're not there to me tight. Tell me I'm okay. I still need you now. Nothing's holding me back. I'm still here now, and I will keep flying, thinking of you. I can soar the sky, 'cause I know you're still here with me. I know you're still with me.
So pretty. So the next time I have to wear waterproof mascara because I was getting a little teary and it was gonna be a little messy. But that was absolutely beautiful. For those that don't know, that was about your grandma. Your grandma, the one that you wrote it for. Yeah,
No, for my great
your auntie,
grandma. Yeah, and my dad's aunt,
your auntie.
and then my mom. No, was it
The other way.
other way? Sorry,
Mhm.
my dad's great grandmother.
Okay. Yeah, we're just talking about soaring and reaching them. So that was absolutely beautiful, Harmony. Loved it, loved it. Congratulations on your beautiful performance. Thank you for joining us. Again, this will be posted physician coach support. Thank you everybody for coming. You share it. That was absolutely beautiful. I'm glad we got to do it twice because that was just really, really joyful. And I got little tears in my eyeballs. That was just fantastic. Harmony, you really touch people with your voice and the music and your mama, and she's just beautiful. So thank you for coming. That was just beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Harmony. Bye.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
No, right there in the corner.